In the interview, yeah, with the German HARDLINE music magazine and the Rock Bottom radio show and YouTube channel Fish, the legendary Scottish singer. Hi, nice to have you in this interview.
Hello, excuse the beard and the long hair.
Yeah,
It's up in the back. I've got a farmer's beard. Farmer's beard. Going
Oh,
bad one and going bower. Oh.
yeah, okay. Yes. So you have re-released your first two solo albums, Vigil in a Wilderness of Mirrors and Internal Exile in late July. And they are available in three formats each. So how did you come up with the idea?
Um, I've been remastering my solo catalogue over a number of years. I mean, Rain Gods with Zippos, Sunsets, Suits, even Songs for the Mirror, Field of Crows has been remixed by Chris Kimsey. And I had these two albums. And last year, Callum Malcolm, who has been my producer and one of my main guys for a number of years, he wanted to remix 13 Star last year. And he did a brilliant job on it. And he just said, look, I want to do the album. I want to redo 13 Star. I was never quite happy with it. I want to redo it. And he did an amazing job on 13 Star, right? And I had two albums that I had to release, and I was just going to remaster them. And I said to Callum, would you like to remix Internal Exile? And Internal Exile, I mean, I am sitting here in the control room of my recording studio, which is now up for sale, right? Because we are moving from this place, right? And this was the place where Internal Exile was recorded. I mean, we sat in this room, and the very first album that was ever recorded in this studio was Internal Exile with Chris, And because it was the first album, there was a lot of things we were finding out about the studio. Chris was never happy with the acoustics because they were still being tuned, right? And the album came out, and I was never really 100% happy with Internal Exile. There was something missing. And I think it was because, as I wrote in the sleeve notes, it was my difficult second album, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought in your career you only have one bad, difficult second album. And of course, this was my second solo album. And I think after Vigil, I wasn't sure what I was doing, which direction I was going in. So the songs on Internal Exile, some of them were hangovers from the Vigil period. Others were finding my new kind of direction, and others were playing about with things. And it became a mishmash of an album, not in a bad way. And that's why the album had the subtext of it was Internal Exile, a collection of a boy's own stories, because it was different stories from, and it was a very difficult time in my life. I mean, my wife at the time was pregnant with my first child. I'd just come out of litigation with Marillion. I was entering litigation with EMI because I wanted out the contract, and I was building this recording studio. So it was the stress grenades were going off everywhere, right? And I think what happened was that when I decided I wanted to put Vigil and Internal Exile out as the last albums on the Chocolate Frog record company, it was the closing, it's the big closing of the circle, with those two albums. And because the studio was up for sale, because I'm moving, the record company's closing down, everything's changing, I'm retiring, I'm moving out of the music business, it made sense to make something big out of these two albums. And Callum Malcolm came in and he remixed Internal Exile, and he has done a brilliant job, right? And it sounds like a completely different album. I mean, the recordings that Chris Kimsey and Thomas Steeler, God bless him, our engineer who came from Berlin, when they recorded the sound here, they did a great job recording. So when Callum came to remix, he was working with beautiful bricks, And when I heard the album back, and I heard Poet's Moon, which was a B-side, and I heard Carnival Man, they became different songs. And all the songs on Internal Exile, they've got a new energy and a new dynamic, right? And when I heard them, and I heard them back in the original order that they were on the original album, it didn't make sense. It wasn't quite right? And I spent 3 hours or so, sitting playing about with the order, and I found the running order, which is on the new 2024 remix, and it's perfect. And it's like designing a fairground ride or a roller coaster. That's what put an album set list is like, a tour set list or an album track list. It's you're designing something to carry somebody through the music and through the lyric, and Eternal Exile went from an album that when you first listen to it, it took a long time to get through, and now you run through it so fast, and that it sounds like it's just a moment. And that is a sign of an album that has got the correct track list, and it feels good. The energies are good. The dynamics are great. And Eternal Exile is a new album. I mean, it is. And it's, when I listen to Eternal Exile now, right? And the Eternal Exile from 2024 is the album that should have come out after Vigil. And I think if that album had come out after Vigil, I think rather than my career taking a slight dip, it might have leveled and taken me in a different direction, right?
Okay.
So after we did Internal Exile, right, I was looking at Vigil, and originally I didn't want to touch Vigil, because it's such an iconic album, and it's an album that, do you remix Vigil? And I said to Callum, because he'd done such a brilliant job on Internal Exile, and I said, how do you feel? And he said, I want to do this, right?
Okay.
And I went, okay. And he did Vigil. And Vigil, the energy that's now in Vigil, and I think the voice is a lot more intimate now. It's not an 80s, it doesn't sound like a late 80s production. And the voice is a lot more, it's in your face a lot more. It's the brilliant remixes. And these are the perfect way to close the circle.
And it's not just a new polished sound. There's much additional material included in the box sets. So what can the fan expect to listen and to watch?
Well, what we took on the deluxe versions, I mean, I think if I'd been putting these albums out on a record on a major record company, they would have shut me down. They would have said, you can't do this.
Yeah.
Right? And because it has cost so much money, I mean, I wanted to make them as I wanted to hear them. I wanted a package that I wanted, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to end my career with 2 great releases. And that's the way I approached it. And we'd already started doing the hardback book in the slipcase with Feast of Consequences in 2012. And the Weltschmerz album that came out in lockdown and COVID. That was a hardback book, and again, that was 100 pages. And that's what I wanted to do with both Internal Exile and Vigil. So it's a hardback book, 100 pages in a slipcase. It's Mark Wilkinson's illustrations. Steve Vances has done the sleeve design. There's photographs. I wrote 13,000 words of sleeve notes for each one, which was very strange, because the first CD is the complete remix. And the second CD are the demos from the periods, right? So these are the demos from the Vigil album, and they're brilliant, and the demos from Exile. And I was sitting here typing up the sleeve notes, and I was listening to the demos that were made in this building, right? And it was a very strange feeling, revisiting that part of my past and going back into that era, into that 1989, 1991 era. And it was
I remember this time.
Yeah, so the second CD is all demos, and CDs 3 and 4 are live tracks, the live versions of the album tracks from all over the years, right? That we've collected and remastered, put together. And the Blu-ray disc that's on the Deluxe has got the Dolby Atmos version, the 5:1 version of the 2024 remix. It's got 2 full concerts that were originally released as official bootlegs back in 1992, right? Each Internal Exile has got 2 full concerts. Vigil has got 2 full concerts from that period. And there's also the documentaries, interviews with Mark Wilkinson. So they're massive packages, you know. And you can only buy them from fishmusic.eu or music.scotland, right?
Yeah, this was my question as well. Where can you purchase the album? Directly per mail, or is there any other ways of distribution, just directly by yourself?
Yeah. I mean, the problem is, well, the thing is, as I said, if I was on a major record company, they would have shut me down. They wouldn't have allowed me. They would have said, you can't do this. And because I don't have a promotion department, I don't have an A&R department, an international department, you know, our costs, my wife and I mean, it's like, I mean, if you have a look through there, right?
Yeah.
You can't really see.
Okay.
My wife is through there packing albums. And before I came on air with you, I was pushing albums from the garage out. And that's how we do it. And, you know, I mean, this is the problem. You know, I'm lucky I've got dedicated fans that are loyal and they still want proper things. They still want tangible product. They want vinyl, right? So we have Vigil and Internal vinyl. But, you know, the thing is that I could either sell this at a very expensive price, right? Or because we're limited and we're a very small organization, our profit margins are like very tight, right? I couldn't sell, if I was selling this on Amazon, I would have to probably add about another 30-40% on the price to make money. And this is the problem. So, and with Brexit, right? So Brexit really threw a great big spanner into our mail order company, right?
Okay.
So now we go through a company in Holland, and they are fishmusic.eu, and we have fishmusic.scot. And
I saw.
Scot deals with the UK, and fishmusic.eu deals with Germany and Holland, and that's the only place you can buy it. We cannot distribute, you know, because if we distribute, the prices would go too high. No.
Okay. And was it easy to find the old recordings in the archives because they come from 2 different record companies? Did you have to do lots of research, or was it an easy task?
No, because I mean, Vigil, Warner's, who are now Parlophone, you know, I signed to EMI, and now it's Parlophone going through Warner's. They were great. They've been really good, and they licensed the material because Vigil is the only album that I don't own the copyright of. My only solo album I don't own the copyright of. But they were great. And, you know, and the demos I already owned and I had, and the live stuff I already owned. You know, Parlophone Warner's only owned the original recording of the Vigil album, right? And the B-sides. Polydor, I did a licensing deal with Polydor. So the albums came back to me years ago. So I own all the Polydor, all the material that went out original in Polydor. It's Dick Brothers, well, it used to be Dick Brothers, but Derek Dick owns all the copyrights of Internal, right? So and it was easy to find the stuff, you know.
So it was easy to get the copyright from the album. They didn't make any problems, or.
But no, Warners were good. It took a long time to negotiate, but you know they were fine. They were really good about it. They were very supportive. They weren't releasing it. I mean, you know, Vigil was only available as a digital download for about the last 15 years, 10, 15 years.
Ach so, ja, richtig.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So this is the first physical release of Vigil since I think for 15 years.
Okay. And when you have listened to the albums while the remastering, remixing, are there any musical aspects that you would have changed in hindsight? And did you have some déjà vu experience while remixing, reworking these old recordings?
Callum Malcolm did all the remixes. You know, I wasn't there when he remixed. I didn't need to be. You know, Callum Malcolm, I trust
Okay.
implicitly. He's a brilliant producer. You know, I don't need to sit on his shoulder, right?
Okay,
And
okay, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and it's and everything that he sent up. You know, we went back and forward, and we said, you know, that needs changing. You know, and we just sent things back. Callum lives 15 minutes down the road from me.
Hmm.
He lives very close. And when he recorded Weltschmerz here, so we know each other. I mean, we're great social friends as well as professional friends. You know, and you
Hmm.
know, it was yeah, there was nostalgia involved. You know, listening to it all back. You know, and I think some of the things that Callum brought out in the mixes that I'd forgotten we even recorded. You know, and he just brought some things up, and it's just wonderful. They're great. I love them.
Hmm.
You know,
Of course, yes, I like it as well, and listen 2 times to each album now in the new version.
you like the new
So
versions, yeah?
I heard the MP3s via
Mm.
promotion
Yeah, yeah,
for promotional purposes,
yeah.
and your latest releases, A Feast of Consequences and Weltschmerz, are great albums as well. I think they sound a little bit darker than your first 2 albums. Do you agree, or how would you see your musical progress?
I think any album that's called Weltschmerz is bound to be a dark album. It's,
It's had a gloomy atmosphere,
I
I would say, a little bit gloomy atmosphere. I
think
like it.
yeah, no, it's a bit, that's kind of like where I am. It's like, you know, it's where there was, you know, I mean, Weltschmerz, I mean, is my last album. You know, I mean, that is the last Fish album. And it was, you know, and coming out, you know, with COVID and lockdowns and everything, you know, I think it was an album of its time, you know, and it was an album. I mean, a lot of people in Germany don't even know it exists because of Brexit and because of COVID. You know,
Oh.
there's a lot of people never heard it, right? And we didn't tour. We couldn't tour that album because of COVID. And then it was the next year. It was impossible because of Brexit and what happened. You know, so and you know, so Weltschmerz is going to be interesting. I mean, we talked about you know how we're bringing albums out on tour. I'm bringing the Weltschmerz Deluxe album and and 13 Star and Vigil and Eternal. We will have them on the merchandise stalls and at the concerts. You know, so we'll
Hmm.
have that there. And we got a German firm from Hamburg who's
Hmm.
dealing with our merchandise for us. You know?
Okay, okay, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, they're dark albums. I mean, I think you know, I'm 66 years old, right? It was really funny. It was really funny that my accountant, the woman who does my books, right? She said, "There's money in your bank account," and she goes, "I don't know what it is," right? And she said, "Well, have you been receiving money?" I said, "No." I said, "I've not worked for months. I've not done anything for radio or TV. There's nothing I've done at all, and all the record things go through the company." And I didn't know what it was. And I looked at my bank account. Then I realized it was my pension from the government.
Ah, so yeah.
It was my old age pension from the government, and I didn't even know I was getting it. Right? I forgot that I'd hit 66, and I now get money from the government because I'm too old.
That's okay, okay, yeah. And you are a singer who refers on politics, literature, poems. So, which political aspects, authors, and books have inspired you in the beginning of your solo career and which have inspired you in the later stage of your career?
Really go into. I mean, there's too many. I mean, John Steinbeck. I used to read. I loved Kerouac, Elmore James. I read a lot of different things. You know, when I was writing Weltschmerz, I was
Hmm.
reading a lot of Hans Fallada, you know,
Hmm.
and I was reading a lot of his books. And in fact, one of the tracks on Weltschmerz is called Little Man What Now, which is an actual Hans Fallada title of one of his books. But it was my kind of take on it. But it was a very, I was inspired by that darkness that Fallada had. And I wish I could read it in German, but my German is just nowhere near good enough to read, you know.
Okay.
Mm.
hmm And you have mentioned it before, your albums are released on your own record company since 1993. So you are not related to a label, you've got your own label. So did it give you more artistic freedom than in the
Of
beginnings?
course, of course.
Yeah.
Of, yeah.
So you can do what you like and you are not, didn't have to discuss some musical aspects with a
No,
product manager of a record
no,
company.
no.
Yeah, good. hmm Of course. And you will go on your road to the Isles farewell tour this autumn. The tour will conclude in Great Britain next year. So what can the
It's
fans
in Scotland, yeah.
in Glasgow, yeah, okay. What can your fans expect from the tour? Who will be the touring musicians? And do you have an idea about the set list?
Yeah, well, that's a basic question. The touring band, it's a bit like an old Hollywood movie. It's like a Hollywood movie, where you get like you know, Sylvester Stallone and Helen Helen Mirren and everybody together. We got enough on us to do one more show. And I've brought back some great friends that I really wanted to perform with on the last tour. So I've got Mickey Simmons on keyboards, and Mickey worked with Mike
Mm,
Oldfield before he joined me, and we co-wrote the Vigil in the Wilderness of Mirrors album together, and a lot of Internal Exile, right? And Mickey was in the band till about 1993. Great keyboard player, and he's come back to join me. And Robin Bolt, who's been a guitarist on and off with me for years, who co-wrote the Internal Exile album, he's back playing guitar with me. Steve Vances, who co-wrote 13 Star, Beats the Consequences, Weltschmerz, he's playing bass. And Gavin Griffiths, who's been my drummer for a long, long time, my concert drummer for ages. Gavin's on drums. And I've got Elizabeth Troy Antwi on backing vocals. And she co-wrote with me on the Rain Gods, the Rain Gods with Zippo's album. And she sang on that album, and she also sang on I think it was Feast of Consequences as well. It's an old team that's coming back,
mhm.
and it's going to be a lot of fun. And that's what this tour has got to be. It's got to be fun. I mean, you know, I always said that, there was a time I knew in 2015 when I was living in Karlsruhe, where Simona, my wife, and when I was staying down there, I knew then that it was kind of, there was a time when I had to go, and this is the right time,
Okay.
and the set list it carries the whole career, we're rehearsing, I think it's something like 34 songs,
Ah,
which is which is enough for two set lists, right? And some of the concerts we play, in Holland, we play 2 nights at the one venue, so we've got two completely different sets. And when we play Germany, we move songs in and out every night. It'll be so that
that's
there will
good.
never be a
That's
set
good.
list that's exactly the same. There'll be
Mhm.
maybe 2 or 3 songs will move in, move out every night. So
And will
but they're
Doris,
from everywhere. The songs are from everywhere. We're playing material from Marillion days. We're playing material from right across all the solo albums. It's my entire career, right? And
okay,
all the songs that I want to play for the last time with my full band, because this is the last time I'm playing with a full electric band.
okay. And will Doris Brendel be part of the tour again?
No,
No, this time she won't be part, okay? And
Liz, I made the decision. Liz, Elizabeth Troy is the singer. Liz and I have known each other for a long, 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 long time, and she's a brilliant. No, with no disrespect to Doris, Elizabeth is a fantastic singer, and it's like I really wanted her to come out on the tour with me. She's a great friend of mine.
yeah, of course, yeah. Okay, and are you planning to release a final live album or DVD Blu-ray from the Road to the Isles tour later on, or won't there be any live releases?
I don't know. I mean, after this, I mean, I closed my record company down in April 25 after the tour. And then my wife and I are moving to the Outer Hebrides. We've taken over a croft in the islands in the Western Isles of Scotland, and we're shutting the record company down, and I'm leaving the music business. And I've still own all the copyrights of all my solo material. So at some point I will license that material out, and so that it can be released. It'll be available on for downloads and things. But I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe there's a label that's interested in taking on the live album, but and I will definitely have recordings of the tour. But I don't have any kind of there's no plans at the moment to put the live album out. I'll see what happens. I'll make that decision next year.
Okay, and you have mentioned it before. You have a comfortable home, and you will move house to the Isles. So why will you make this local shift?
It's not a local shift, right? It's like I'm moving to a place. To get to the place that my wife and I are living in, we have to drive for 6 hours. Then we have to get a ferry for an hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes. And then we drive another 30, 40 minutes to get to the house. That's on an island that's attached to another island by a causeway, right? So, and we're both so looking forward to going there. We have 13 sheep now, right? And we've been rebuilding a very old house up there on the island. So we're becoming crofters. The music business has been great. I've had a great time. I've had a wonderful time, and I'm very grateful for everything that the music has done for me. And, but there comes a time when, I have to change, and I need an adventure. I have to have fun in my life. And in the same way as, I declared Weltschmerz was my last album, and I think it was the best album that I ever made. And a lot of critics thought it was the best album that I'd made in my solo career.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And it's the same with the tour, and it was like when I left Marillion, I left Marillion after Clutching at Straws, which was, I think, the best album I did with Marillion. I think it was our finest moment together, right? And I left it on a high, right? And in the same way, I want to leave my solo career on a high with the best album that I've done. And I want this tour to be remembered as a really fun tour. I've got great musicians around me. We've got a great set list. It's going to be a lot of fun on stage, and I really want to enjoy it. And then next year, when I get on that ferry, then it's going to be, I'm going to know, I've done it, checked it off.
Okay, and what are your plans for the time after your final concert in Glasgow in March 2025? You will move house, but what are your further plans?
I'm not retiring. I mean, I'm retiring from the music business. I'm not retiring. Like I said, I've got 13 sheep, right? and I've got an autobiography to write, right? I mean, the thing is that for years and years and years, I have been a great big hamster on a wheel, right? And it's been write, record, album, tour, write, record, album, tour, right? For years and years and years, right? And I've never had the time to do a lot of things that I really want to do. And the bottom line on everything is that I am a writer who can sing. I'm not a singer who can write. And there's a big difference, right? I'm a writer. That is my heart and soul. I'm a writer, right? And that's what I want to do. And I want time to write. I don't want to go on tour anymore. I don't want to be on a tour bus.
Understand, yes.
The music business has changed so much, right? It's changed, right?
Of course, I understand.
The only way you can really make a living in the music business now is by going and playing live, right? By playing shows, right? And my reality is that I will never, ever be playing arenas again. I know that, right? And I will be on a tour bus traveling around Europe for the rest of my life if I decided to be a musician on tour. And I don't want to do that anymore, right?
Okay, I understand, yeah.
Yeah, and I'd rather give that space. And the thing is, there's not enough venues. There's not enough money to buy concert tickets, right? There's, and I don't want to be sleeping on a bus anymore, right? And it's time to give that space to a young person, right?
Okay, I understand, yeah.
I mean? Let somebody else do what I did. I've had a great time, and I'm going up.
Okay, and will you reflect your experience in the music business in a book as well? In your as well. Okay.
Yeah. But it's
Hmm.
not. It's not going to be a boring like sold this many albums, did this gig. That it's not one of those. It's a far more personal book than that. My life there's a lot more to me than music. A lot
Hmm.
more.
Hmm.
Right?
Hmm.
And I think, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because it's like, I mean, I have time. I'm 66. I've still got space in my life for another big adventure. And I've decided that my big adventure is on an island in the Atlantic. You know?
And your books, where will they be released? Do you have a
Don't know.
publisher? Or
I don't know. Don't ask me that. I don't know. Like, you might as well say, what are you wearing on Tuesday, the 3rd of November? You might as well ask me that, because I don't know. At the moment, all I'm concerned about is Vigil and Internal, the remasters or the remixes. I'm concerned about the tour, learning the set list. I'm concerned about getting through this tour. After that, it can be as it is, right? I am
hmm.
not ruled by the wheel anymore, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's really important for me. You asked me about my record company being independent. That's what I am, right? I'm an independent person, right?
That
I'm not
sounds
ruled
good.
by a corporation. I'm not ruled by that shit, right? And if I want to make decisions, I'll make decisions like that. You know, it's like that's what I am. That's what makes me. I'm not. I don't just churn out albums. I mean, it would be really easy. It would have been really easy for me to basically repeat Misplaced Childhood,
Of
like in a
course, I understand very well.
yeah. But let me finish. Let me finish, right?
Okay, okay, sorry.
It's really important, for me to be free, right? And that's why I became an independent artist. I might not have had the commercial success, but my output and my artistic output, I think, has been very high, right? And it's
Yeah,
been, yeah, and that's why it's important, and that's why I have to do things that some people don't quite get, they don't understand, and but that's what makes me an artist, and but I'm a writer, and when I go to write, I will write what I feel, right? In the same way as when I make the music, I make music that I feel that's inside me, that is my heart. And it's
of
the same way
course.
I'll do that now. So I don't know who's going to be releasing the book or where the
Okay.
distribution is, because I don't fucking care, right? I just want to write.
Yeah, good. And yeah, the internet gives you many
Yeah.
possibilities. So it's
The,
not,
the,
you're not,
internet, the internet is like yin and yang incarnate, right? I mean, there are elements of the internet I absolutely despise. I mean, all you have to do is look at the riots going on in the United Kingdom at the moment, and then you see the dark side of the internet.
I saw it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and I will be very glad to take the needle out my arm from Facebook.
Yeah. So do you have further information for your fans concerning the re-releases or some other aspects about your farewell tour? Unmentioned things?
Um, just say if you want the albums, you can get them from fishmusic.eu, right? And like that's the only place you will find the albums, right? Either that or on the merchandise stalls and the tours. This tour is my farewell tour. It's not status quo, right? This is not
Yeah,
this is not the first of the last farewell tours. It's like, this is it. And I'm really looking forward to it. So if you want to see me for the last time, be there at the gigs.
yeah, I believe you. It
I
sounds,
promise you, you're going to be given, if you've been a fan for years, you will hear an explosion of memories, right, on the night when you come along to this gig. Right?
and will there be a supporting act or will it be an
No,
evening with Fish? Just you playing
just
with
me. It's just me. There's no
two,
there's no support act. It's
uh,
two
the
two
whole
hours of fish.
2 hours Fish.
2 hours of fish. Yeah,
Yeah, that sounds good and very good. Yeah, it's
brilliant.
fantastic. Yeah, brilliant. Okay, Fish. Thank you very much for this
Thank
nice
you very much.
interview. Keep on rocking. It's an old German wisdom. And how are
Okay.
your connections to Karlsruhe? Are you still sometimes in Karlsruhe, Durlach, your former home?
We were there about the last time I was in Karlsruhe was 2022. It's like a lot of things happen for many reasons, personal reasons. My
Oh,
my
yeah.
wife my wife has been back. My wife has been back. We got married in 2017, but it's like it's been very difficult the last few years, you know. But I think because we've been so involved, we bought the house in the island, and since we've got the house in the island, we've been really tied up, you know, really tied up with everything in our lives, you know. So it's been difficult to get back to Germany. But we already know Karlsruhe, we know, is already sold out. That's going to be a great night, you know. And I'm sure Hamburg's going to be a great night, and that's going to be Hamburg's a good old dancing ground for me, you know.
Mhm. Okay, then have a good time on the tour, very successful tour,
Oh yeah,
good record sales, and yeah, good time for your yeah period after your career.
thank you.
That all
Yeah,
will happen in the way you like it, and the new home.
yeah.
It sounds. Will your video cast stay Fish on Friday? Will you keep it up, or will it finish be as well?
When I leave the studio, that's when it finishes. I mean, it's you know, when I move to the island, you know, I don't want to be on the island spending a Friday night playing fish music.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. But I'm sure something will happen up there, but it won't be like Fishing Friday, you know. Like I said, you know, when I move next April, you know, after you know, when we move up to the well, we move up to the island this year, right? But you know, after the UK tour, I mean, that's it. You know, I mean, it is you know, so long and thanks for all the fish, really. You know. Uh, mhm.
Okay, thank you very much for this nice
Lovely to talk
interview.
to you again.
Until then, greetings to your wife, to Simone,
Okay.
and yeah, until then, bye bye.